back to All American Tractor Works. I'm Greg Nips. We're going to continue putting our 1953 International Super H together, but before we get into that, there's a couple things I want to talk about from some viewers that sent us some emails, and they brought up some great points, and I want to acknowledge that today. First thing is from Thomas K. If you remember this piece here, I had a hard time getting this out. I ended up using a concrete stake that actually fit right in this slot real well. It was about 3 feet long, worked really well. He sent me a suggestion of getting a piece of key stock the size of this slot and welding that to a large nut so you can put your impact or your breaker bar in it to get it off. Thought that was a genius idea. Thomas, thank you very much for that suggestion. We'll consider that definitely going into the future because I never even thought about it. The next one that I want to talk about, Raymond Yu, he wrote me an email, called me out on a couple things, and he's correct on them. And because I want to give out good and accurate information here, I want to acknowledge what he had pointed out to me. Last time we were talking about seals, and I had actually called a couple seals double-lipped seals, and he pointed out that it's incorrect, and he is correct on that. I got this seal here. As you can see, there's kind of two sealing surfaces in it. It's not a double-lipped seal. It's actually more of a double seal is what it should have been called. A double-lipped seal actually has a lip on the top and bottom of the sealing surface, not like this one at all. He also shared in his email with me that a lot of the older seals use leather because the rubber was not as developed as it is today, and thus they would put these thicker seals in for better sealing quality. But want to acknowledge what he pointed out, thought that was really helpful, and I appreciate that. Like I said, I want to get us proper and accurate information on this show so that we're sharing good stuff. The other thing that he mentioned to me is some of the terms that I've used and some of the parts have not been correct, so I am going to make a better effort to make sure that I'm using the right terms. It's a lot of stuff running through my head when I'm doing this, and I forget a lot. So I will make sure moving forward we're using the right terms so that we're calling the right parts the right names. And then lastly, he mentioned removing blind seals. If you remember, I took a pointed chisel and was prying it out like that. He mentioned drilling 2 holes and using a slide hammer to actually pull it out. And that's actually a genius idea. I never thought about that. I actually have a slide hammer. I didn't think I'd be able to get in behind it to do it, but next time I have to pull out a blind seal, I'm definitely going to give that a shot. I never even thought about it. So thank you, Raymond. You appreciate your comments. Please keep them coming. And then finally, L. Anderson, he mentioned to us there's 2 other shows out there that we're real big fans of here at All American Tractor Works. And I wanted to mention them because I think they do an outstanding job. And that's Squatch 253 and Just a Few Acres Farm. Watch their videos. Those guys are working on internationals. They do an amazing job. We are huge fans of those. So like I said, if you want an alternative view or you want to see more on internationals being restored, go watch those guys. Do a search for them. They do a really great job, and we appreciate what they do. So anyway, before we get into things for today, there's one more thing that I wanted to bring up that I failed to mention last time when we were putting the differential back together. If you look on this casting, you will see there's a slash mark right there. And they're on each half of this casting. Those slash marks need to line up. It is possible that you may have 2 dots. Mine has a slash mark in it. When you're putting this back together, crucial that that lines back up. Those are witness marks. Make sure you line them up. So I wanted to share that with you, seeing that I failed to mention that last time. Luckily, I just got into doing it, and I didn't even think about it, and I failed to share it with you, so now you know. So anyway, let's get to work on this today. We are going to put our reverse idler shaft in. That's the first thing we'll put in, and then we're going to put our counter shaft in. I don't know if we'll be able to get too far beyond that. I found some things in my cleaning as I was going through that are going to be problems that are solvable, but they're things that I wanted to point out to you because had I not taken this transmission apart like I was talking about not doing, I would never have found these issues, and they could have turned into much bigger issues in the future. But we'll talk about those a little bit later in the program. Right now, let's get to work on getting this reverse idler shaft back in. So here we are. I've got all the parts that I'm going to start putting in. We're going to start with our reverse idler gear. I have it here, the shaft, the bolt that goes with it to hold the shaft in place. I have our countershaft here. I have to fess up, I did not take this apart when I tore the whole transmission down. I didn't take it apart because I actually put it in my press and I tried pressing it out and I felt like it was taking too much pressure. So I stopped. It didn't need to come apart. These gears are all in good shape, so I left it together. So this is the one thing that I did not take completely apart. These are keyed on this shaft. It should have come off a little bit easier than it did, but it was giving me a little trouble. I didn't want to break a gear. There's really no reason that I needed to take this apart. I kind of let sleeping dogs lie on that one. I have the 2 bearings that go on either side of that shaft, and then the locking rings that will keep that assembly together. So let's get going on this. I'm going to put some lube in here. I'm just using some 85 140 gear lube. I know some of you guys use some really cool stuff for assembly lubrication. I'm just using what's eventually going to end up in it anyhow. So I'm going to put a little lubrication in there and we're going to get this idler gear in place. So here we are. I have my reverse idler gear here. As you can tell on this gear, there are 2 different lengths on the collars that comes off of this casting. This one's a little thicker on this side, this one's a little smaller. This is actually the back side, this is forward. So when this goes in this transmission, it needs to go in this direction. So before I put this in, I'm just going to set it in the bottom here real quick. I'm going to grab my shaft. I'm just going to put a little bit of gear oil on it. We don't want to put it in there dry if we can avoid it. So I just get that all oily. This hole here is the one the bolt goes through, so I need to make sure that I line that up with this bolt hole here. So I'm just going to insert it in here with that hole facing up. And I'm going to grab my gear. With this gear, the collar on this side, and that's the front, is thicker than the collar on the back side. You can see that that's a little shorter than this side. This is the front of this. This has to go this way. So I'm going to line it up in here. See if I can get the shaft to go in. And there we go. Make sure to keep that hole up. And here it comes in. I'm just going to take, I got just a screwdriver here just to help line this hole up. Make sure we're good. Then I'll take and throw my bolt down in there. And I'll just screw it in finger tight because it goes in really easy, as it should. And then it's, I think, a 9/16. I'm just going to take and tighten that up. There we go. The idler gear is in. It spins nice and free. Has a little bit of play in it, but not bad at all. Good, we've got something in here. Let's keep going. Next we have our large counter shaft here that we need to put in. Of course, we've got our bearings, our clips that hold the assembly together. I don't know if you can see it or not, but I have my parts breakdown book here with me. I want to make sure that I get all this together correctly. I know a lot, but I don't know everything, so I make sure that I always have this for reference, so I'm putting stuff back together properly. I first need to put this in, and if I remember correctly, this was kind of interesting to get out of here when I took it out, because there is not a lot of space in here to work with. And there it goes. I'm amazed that the engineers were able to find a way to make that work, because there is not a lot of room for playing around in here. Alright, so I got the shaft down in the bottom. Here's the bearing for it. I am going to take and lube this bearing up here with some oil. I'm going to make sure that I lube the inside as well real good, because that's going to go on the end of the shaft. And I'm just going to put that in place loose. Going to do the same thing. Actually, before I even do that, let me take and put this retainer ring on the outside here, because this goes in from the outside. So let's see if I can get this on here with my hands, or if I'm going to need some help. It's not going to be easy with greasy gloves. See if my hand is strong enough. Nope. Let me get something to put that on real quick. Okay. Holding it in the slot on one end, I'm just going to take this screwdriver and just help it into place as we go around. And hopefully not stab myself in the process, because I'm really good at doing that usually. There we go. Our ring is in. This goes in from the outside, but I still need to put a little bit of lubricant in it. The bearing was cleaned and fully dry. Now it's got some oil in it. So I'm going to take my dead blow and just tap this bearing in until it hits that ring. There we go. That's all in. Now comes the tricky part of getting this lined up with that without pushing that bearing back out, which it's going to do anyway on me. So we may just kind of I'm going to put this bearing in the back too at the same time, just so it's in alignment while I'm doing this. If that'll work. Let's see if I can get this front bearing in a little bit. Nope, I don't think that's going to go either. Trick is getting these to go on square. Knocked the back out on me. So here we are. We now have our counter shaft in. We have our reverse idler shaft in. One big note to make to you. We had bad information when putting the reverse idler in. The thick collar goes toward the rear, not toward the front. Originally I had looked it up and I had been told that it went toward the front. That is incorrect. The big thick collar on the reverse idler gear goes toward the back, the small collar toward the front. It spins nice and easy as it should. Everything is exactly where it should be for the moment. We've made great strides getting this together. It was not easy. This counter shaft does not go in very easily. The bearings are tough. You have to take your time, be careful. It's hard not to want to beat on things, but be very careful when you're putting it together. You take your time, you'll get it back together. It was a little bit of a wrestling match, but we got it in. Everything looks good. The gears mesh real well. There's not a lot of play between the two of them. I'm satisfied with what we got here. So the next thing that we're going to work on is going to be the top shaft here. But before I can put that in, I have some things there that I need to show you that I found that could potentially turn us into some problems in the future. So I want to address it now while we're putting this back together, because I'd rather not come back in here if I don't have to in the future. So let's go take a look at what I found. Here I have all of my upper shaft, my main pinion shaft, my first gear in reverse, second, third, fourth gear, and on the inside our fifth gear that works along with the shaft here. So a couple things that I found that brings me to a stop on the project here. First thing is, as you can see, this snap ring here, that's not what that should look like. Somebody gave that the business. I'll have to get a replacement for this. I don't think that's going to be a big problem. That goes on our main pinion shaft here. that needs to be replaced. If you look at the gears here, they do have wear on them. I'm not really concerned about them too much. You can see it right on the edge. It's from 1953. It was used. I'm not really going to sweat it too much. However, I did find something that did make me a little nervous. As you flip this gear over, you can see inside here, these teeth have been ground down pretty good. This is your 5th gear. And what this does is this meshes with this here. And while I can put it on there and it locks, it's good, I would like to see some healthier teeth in there than what I've got right now. So I'm going to look at either getting a used one of these gears that's in good shape, or I might just buy a brand new one, because I know you can purchase brand new ones. They're about $200, but I would rather have this work correctly than one day not have a 5th gear. My understanding is what can happen when you have this type of wear in here is that you'll put the tractor in 5th gear, and in order to keep it in there, you'll have to keep your hand with pressure on the shift lever in order to keep it in gear. I don't want to do that. I want it to go in and I don't have to touch it and it runs as it should. So we're looking at replacing that. We're looking at getting a new one of these rings here. The rest of the gears are good. I'm going to go with them. Everything here is clean, it's ready to go. I'll get these parts ordered for next time. We'll get this put together. We'll get it put back in the tractor. That's all for today. Thank you guys for being here. From All American Tractor Works, I'm Greg Nips. Thank you. We'll see you next time.